Hello everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a look here at Bitcoin, see what's going on, help you understand best practice and big picture. If you're new to the channel, of course, not a financial advisor, I just love teaching people how to trade, and I really hope you can learn something here today, of course. And if you do, comment below, let me know if I've helped you on the right path. Thankfully, I've gotten a lot of good feedback over the years, and I really appreciate everything and all the support for my current community members. If you do want to become a current community member, of course, we have over 200 active members. CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. Check that out in your own time, of course. And what I do is I offer discounts for military and third world countries, and we just help you become a better trader with my Trading Academy, community, and Signal group. Now, taking a look here, though, at Bitcoin. Really simple stuff here. It's a weekend, not a lot of volume, not a lot of volatility. Essentially, things are just kind of stagnant and steady sideways. It's kind of stuck in this little range here, right at the support. It's consolidating right at support of 29,800. So it's good to have that, but there's no real definitive direction that we should expect to see. Now, I pointed out recently, yesterday, I believe yesterday's video, that every past Friday for the last 3 weeks has been red, followed by 2 green Saturdays and Sundays. Today is green so far, of course, but it's a very tiny candle with low volume. That could change. But generally speaking, when you have a sell-off on a Friday, it is followed by a green day on Saturday and Sunday. That's generally the consensus. And then, of course, profits are taken Monday, Tuesday, or in this case, Wednesday, when the price flattened out after a doji candle. That being said, let's go ahead and take a look at big picture, just kind of reiterate a few things. And really, honestly, not a tremendous amount of new stuff we need to know this week, or today for that matter, but I just like to kind of reaffirm the fact that we are still under the 20 SMA. That's going to be like that for some time. We're expecting about 6 more months or 5 more months of that, just based on prior history and how the price typically comes down to test the 50-day SMA on the monthly and bounce. We also see 2 RSIs under 50, same scenario as well. Before it was under 50 for 6 months straight, and we've been under 50 for about 2 months now. Okay, so it gives us an understanding here that it could be about 4 months until we start seeing a green month right there. There's a great chance we're going to see another 4 or 5. We're at 3. We could see a 4th and a 5th red month before we see a reversal. Again, between now and then, a lot of stuff will happen, ups and downs, of course. We might even see a retest of 40 or 37,500. But between now and then, we got to expect the price to continue to come lower based on some overall macro behavior. Same thing as well here if we look at the weekly. Even though the weekly is down closer to 30, you shouldn't expect the price just to bounce back because of that. Okay, we've got this this gravestone doji candles forming, and that's never a good sign. That really just implies that the price will probably continue lower from here, because in this entire week's time frame, the price has come up and back down to the original starting point. In other words, it's having significant trouble getting above a certain level of resistance, which in this case is right around 30,000, and we can kind of expect, I misspoke, it's 32,000, right around 32,000 is where we have the most amount of resistance, or 31.8 essentially. That said, generally speaking, even though this is a little green candle here, I wouldn't get too excited about it. All right? Doesn't mean we're going to see any type of thing. Now, granted, candlesticks don't always imply that it's going to do that specific thing. It's just that in this case, gravestone usually is followed by a red candle. Okay. Again, just something to kind of keep in mind. But again, the weekly, not looking fantastic, but we do have 9 straight weeks of consolidation, or correction, 9 straight weeks of red, followed by 1 week of potential consolidation. So, is there potential for the price to come back up? Sure, but there's equally as much, if not more, reason for the price to continue to go lower. Okay. All right, that's kind of where we're at there on the weekly. We look at the month or the daily here. Pretty straightforward. We're stuck under 50 on the RSI until we can get back up above 31,800. We won't have a leg to stand on. Good news is we're still making higher lows, if you want to consider that in the daily. Okay. Now, obviously, look at the macro. It will tell us a different story, I'm pretty sure. At least I haven't checked it today, but I know yesterday we were printing lower lows and lower highs. So if we continue to maintain that, we could see a break to the downside. But once again, there is still a good, strong potential for the price to continue higher based on the fact that the daily is essentially making higher lows. So our previous low, 1-day candlestick close, is 28,500. The more recent low is 29,500. So if we don't close below 29,500 on the daily in the next 2, 3, 4 days, we're going to be looking to be in pretty good shape to expect the price to recover back up. Again, a lot of different schools of thought there, but that's generally what I'm kind of extracting here from the current situation. And here's the key takeaway, though. And here's just something to really understand. The 50-day SMA is almost always going to work concurrent with the trend line. In this case, a descending trend line. Okay, and this descending trend has been progressing ever since March 28th. So March 28th has continued all the way down, has tried to retest multiple times, establishing lower highs. Excuse me. Now, if we can kind of take that same sentiment there and take a look at the 50-day SMA is working concurrent pretty much along the same lines with this trend. It works. It's a very good indicator for a trend line. That being said, the 50, in my opinion, in this case, has to be the price point in which we need to break above in order to kind of say that the bottom is in, or to expect the price to reverse back to the upside. I don't think the bottom is in, of course. I think we have more downside. I don't think we'll even be able to break that here in this next push if there was one, but that would be something to look for. All right, so again, 50-day SMA is something ideal. Last thing we can kind of summarize with here is on the 4-hour, not much else to note except that we are making lower highs, okay, and we are technically making lower lows. Right, so even though the daily is telling us we have higher lows, the 4-hour transitionary time frame, which eventually makes 1-day candles, right? Then we could have, and we can say that the price is digressing. So again, it's kind of conflicting information in some ways, but the longer the 4-hour time frame maintains lower lows and lower highs, the quicker those 1-day lower highs and lower lows are going to start becoming established. Again, we're not there yet. I prefer to focus on daily closes. Daily candlestick closes make more sense because it's an average of 24 hours, not just 4 hours. But in this example here, we can see lower highs and lower lows. That could translate to an unfortunate circumstance on the daily. Okay. Again, expect the worst, hope for the best. The price should continue to progress lower, but it hasn't yet. All right. Now, taking a look here, of course, at the RSI under 50, standard stuff. You see that pretty much concurrent with a lot of things. We do see a MACD convergence here forming. I'm not saying by any stretch that this is just going to just take off, but when you see these two intersect, commonly gives you an indication that there's a shift in momentum from bearish to bullish. And we're pretty much right on the precipice there. Again, still making lower highs and lower lows, so I wouldn't gamble. It is a gamble rather, in kind of trying to take a long position right now. If you have one open, keep it open. I do think it's safe to say we're going to hit 31 to 32,000 this week, but once again, the week hasn't started yet, and we don't truly know what's going to happen. All right, so again, just be cautious and careful. But generally speaking, we have some conflicting information on that 4-hour, kind of just telling us that we may or may not have a turnaround. Okay. Here as well on the 1-hour, there's another, again, the lower in time frame you go, the less reliable these patterns become. But generally speaking, obviously we can see lower highs, right? But we can also see higher lows. Okay. Now again, it's a stretch. I'm not saying this is any reason to take a position based on this here, especially with low volume on the weekend. But that does kind of tell us that there is more buying pressure than selling pressure, which is synonymous with weekend behavior. All right. So just something to kind of pay attention to and to note. We are, I believe, underneath the clouds still, but we're getting closer. It's averaged itself out now. So within just say 24 hours from now, if we average the price sideways, we'll inevitably be above the cloud. And it's oftentimes something that happens as well when the price breaks above the cloud and we have a convergence on the MACD and the 4-hour. So those are two things I like to look at personally, is to see a convergence on the MACD on the 4-hour, which we're seeing forming right now. It's not there yet. And we also see here that the lagging span is inside the price action, not great. Conversion line's right at the baseline, also not great. But the price is starting and trying to break above the cloud. So even if it goes sideways like this, it'll inevitably be above the cloud because the cloud has to kind of average itself out. It's basically a moving average. So generally speaking at this point, I think that you want to be cautious and careful, but it does look like it wants to and could actually have a good reason to take off. So my speculation is that tomorrow we should see some kind of green behavior followed by a potential red day on Monday. Again, don't always take their profits on Mondays. We saw this last holiday where we had a very significant increase from Bitcoin followed by a decrease 2 days later. Okay. So again, there's really no guarantees, but I can tell you that the Ichimoku cloud is kind of telling us that it's getting close to a potential buy, and so is the MACD on the 4-hour. But just keep in mind, again, the 4-hour, we're making lower highs and lower lows. Not a great sign. You don't usually want to buy into that. Okay, so we wait for confirmation here. That's ideally what we're going to be doing here, waiting for confirmation. And if you are a current community member, I don't send a tremendous amount of signals on the weekends, just based on the simple fact that there's higher risk and with lower volume, sometimes you don't always hit your target. So generally speaking, right now I think it's best to maybe kind of just pause for the moment, just kind of take a step back, let Bitcoin decide what it wants to do. Once we get confirmation, perhaps even tomorrow, we can maybe take a position confidently and more comfortably, right? Between now and then, just enjoy your weekend. Try not to stress. Bitcoin will recover eventually. All right. What you can do this best in your best interest, of course, and I like to kind of reiterate this. I think it's important to note is just to have a healthy body and a healthy mind. So if you're going to do anything for yourself this weekend, do something constructive. Make sure that you become the best you before you take a trade. All right, and you should do that all the time. I mean, I'm not bragging whatsoever, but I run a mile every morning and I exercise 4 or 5 days a week, and it really helps me find my center and my focus. And if I don't have that, I don't trade very well. Okay, I've experienced that over the years. So that's just stuff that I teach in my trading academy, and I want to make sure to reiterate that for you. Even if you're not interested in pursuing that, if you want to become a better trader, it starts up here. Okay. All right. Anyways, that's enough of me for now. Thanks again for joining me. If you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is the site. Link in the description below. Look forward to working with you. Have yourself a great rest of your day. We'll see you next one.